We have Nikolas with us. He's one of the team at Signal, and I definitely have to say thank you to the team at Signal. We're a growing community. We're in our early days, and the idea is to get people together, get people talking, build an ecosystem, support people that are passionate in that space. And it can be quite difficult to get traction, like starting anything. And actually, we met Signal very early in that process, and they were like, cool, we like it, what can we do? So I've taken that as a very good signal about Signal. And I think it shows immediately a lot about them. In terms of today's session, it is recorded by the wonderful team at Did Media, so always give them a big shout out. So the video content plays a big part in growing a community. Again, they've been with us from the beginning, so if you're looking to tell a story through video, talk to Did Media. Amazing. Right, here we go. We're in.
Let's go for it.
In terms of the plan, there is a bit of a plan, there is a flow. What we're aiming to do is we're aiming to give you a bit of a background around Nikolas. We're then aiming to dig into a bit about Signal and building in real world industries. And then we're looking to get into the meat of things, I think. We're looking to talk about what investors are looking for now. We're looking to talk about perhaps how the current environment is changing startup building. And bear with. And why do I have so many sheets of paper? It's like
There are too many.
I come with 50 questions, man. It's not cool. I need to get this written down. But we're aiming to talk a lot also about problem selection. And we did a bit of a prep call, Nikolas and I, and it was really clear in that conversation about how important it is as a founder to pick your problem. And then we're going to finish with some clean takeaways for all of you to take off home. And we're going to have some questions for the audience as well. So to kick things off, I am going to come to you, Nikolas, if you can.
Yes.
Please tell us a little bit about who you are right now in terms
Who
of
am I right now?
right now,
Yeah.
present day. Who are you?
I'm Nikolas.
But then also like a little bit of your journey, because I think that'll add flavour for people.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me and having us. So I right now I work for Signal. Obviously, I run Signal Ventures, which is our investment arm. Through Signal Ventures, we invest in maritime technology companies, and I'm saying maritime in a very broad sense, right? So we do logistics tech, trade tech, commodities tech, so anything I guess that touches the cargo. Mm-hmm. And we invest in seed to Series A companies. So my role is basically running Signal Ventures. I didn't start from investing. I was always passionate about transportation. So my main passion as a child was actually aviation and airplanes, and always spotting them in the sky and trying to figure out like what model of Airbus or Boeing is, or try to at least identify whether it's a Boeing aircraft or an Airbus aircraft. That eventually led me into engineering. So I spent 4 years here in London studying mechanical engineering just to figure out how things work. But in my last year, I took a few classes in operations research, which is the science behind trying to optimize operations of businesses. And that led me into trying to study transportation management in the US. So I did that. I ended up doing a PhD at MIT, where I focused on a very applied problem, which is how do we estimate delays at airports around the world, and how do these delays propagate around the network of airlines and flights, and what can we do in order to mitigate those delays. So I really enjoyed that path. So after graduating, and because I had, we were part of a lab at MIT that was focusing on many of the similar topics, we decided to start a company with two of my advisors and another classmate of ours called Aviation Edge, that we ran for a couple of years. It didn't go far. We ended up shutting it down. So I guess that's the path that one in entrepreneurship has to go through once. And then I joined McKinsey because after a year and a half of trying to become an entrepreneur, it didn't work out. I wanted to spend some time in the corporate world to figure out how things work. And I joined McKinsey because I knew I was going to be exposed into many things in the space that I love. So at McKinsey, I did 4 years of general consulting. I quit eventually because I wanted to be closer to tech. They brought me back because they had started a new incubation arm, and that was my second, let's say, entrepreneurship experience within, though, a consulting firm. And in 2019, I left after getting a little bit exposed also in shipping. Moved back to Greece because all that was in the US, and started with the Signal team, the Signal Ventures.
Amazing.
So that's the high level. Happy to dig in
we're ready.
any direction you want me to.
Any direction. Yeah. We're ready for this. We're ready for this. I think my main goal today is obviously we're all building in the current environment, and I think my main goal today is spend the bulk of the time talking about that. But I do also love an origin story, and it's nice to get a bit of that flavour piece. So just in terms of that first part, you're obviously in academia. You've took that first step into starting something. I always find it interesting to find what tips people into that first step, because there'll probably be some people in the room that are perhaps ready to take that first step, or perhaps looking to find the courage or whatever it is. What was that period of your life like? What was it that pushed you towards entrepreneurism to start with?
It was mostly that I didn't, looking around in the aviation space, there was no job that really interested me. I think what motivates me a little bit is waking up in the morning and knowing that today I'm not going to do the same thing potentially that I was doing yesterday. And I found that in a more corporate environment, like working for an airline or an airport, or the job is a bit more repetitive. Plus, we had built quite some interesting software that we thought could be valuable for potential clients out there. So I think the mix of the two, and getting also a team together that we started discussing it, was what kind of dragged me into more, that entrepreneurship path.
I love it. I love hearing how people take that first step, and I think it's different.
But it wasn't very conscious, right? I think it sort of happened.
I love that. In terms of that experience, though, you've mentioned you spent a year and a half in that first phase. What did that teach you? Because you've clearly gone out with intent to experience a lot, learn a lot, soak it all in, and then that's got you to where you are today. So what do you think you learned in that period?
Quite a lot. Mostly, I guess I learned what doesn't work, I guess, in product and software development. So we started by developing two different products. One was, I'll get in a little bit more detail because I think it's interesting to hear a little bit, to contextualize it a bit more. So we had two main products. One was trying to optimize an air traffic network, right? So basically we were able to tell, according to the capacity constraints at different airports and the weather up in the sky, what should be the exact minute every aircraft should pass through the airspace. And so if you do that, obviously you can have a much more efficient airspace system. So that was one product. And the second product was more of a, let's say, policies and decision-making tool where we were, which was derived from my PhD, which was we have a certain network of airports, we have a certain network of airlines. If we predict delays and propagate them, and then try to make changes in the different, in policies within the airports or the schedules of airlines, how do these delays change? So for the first one, there was a clear product market fit, but we were operating in an industry that the time scale of making any decision of changing, how do you optimize an airline network takes 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? So, and what we didn't realize soon enough was that this was more of a pet project of someone in a national airspace agency, and not like a serious strategic effort.
Yeah.
The second product, I think, taught me two things. One is that we started with a solution without really having a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So we were never able to get the aviation authorities or the airports excited, or the airlines excited about this.
Yeah.
And also how we built it, it was like, looking back now, it was terrible. Like the software, it sucked. It was so I think it taught me that you need to put a lot more effort in the beginning in designing something that brings value. Yeah. But also you need to have made already the effort with the potential clients to understand what that value is.
Yeah. So you were perhaps out there building, you've built something that had a fit, but then the industry wasn't ready for it or whatever. It couldn't.
Not even, right? We built something because academically something was very interesting, right? And we solved it. Yeah. But then when we went out, there wasn't a real problem for it, right? Yeah. Or there might have been a problem, but it was so infrequent that it didn't justify a solution, a permanent solution, or a permanent business.
This may resonate for people in the room. I don't know. I've definitely, not to the same extent, but I've definitely gone down that path of trying stuff, and I love that feedback loop. I think the other thing that was clear to me from the journey that you've talked about there is, you've been in academia, you've taken that step into the startup world, you've intentionally chosen to expose yourself to lots of different things in consulting and stuff like that. Do you think there is a common thread throughout that path? Is there things that were the same throughout all of those steps, or do you think they were all purposely very different?
It's a good question. Look, I think the common thread is the industry choice. So what really drives me, I guess, is the ability to do tech, be close to tech in an industry that moves cargo, moves people. So, as I said from the beginning, aviation was always a passion of mine, but that then extended to also, shipping, airports, any sort of travel, transport, logistics applications. So I think that's the common thread, and obviously I had many different roles in that space.
Mate, I'm in safe hands up here, actually, because the next part I wanted to go towards was talking about Signal and building in the real world, and the common thread is building in the real world. So that's clear, I think, in terms of what you're describing. I think it would be helpful at this point, perhaps if you could, just to give us that elevator pitch on Signal, because I think we're going to talk about building in the real world. We're going to talk about what investors are looking for now, and perhaps how things have changed. It probably does help to have that 1 minute overview for those that don't know who Signal are.
Yes, so the elevator pitch. Maybe I should give a little bit of background about shipping first. So Signal operates in the bulk shipping industry, which means the big vessels that carry bulk cargo, whether that's oil or dry cargo, grains, coal, iron ore, etc. And the way the market works is that obviously you have the cargo owner, which is the charterer, you have the ship owner, which provides the capacity, and you have the broker in between, which tries to find the right match between a charterer and a ship owner. And where Signal comes into play is that we try to provide the market intelligence that improves the decision making for each of these three parties. And the reason why this is tough, because a lot of the data that exists is very sparse. It exists in coming through multiple emails, communication that are bilateral, WhatsApp messages, etc. So what we're trying to build is one platform where we can basically have a good view of the entire market in seconds, right? So think about it a little bit as the Bloomberg for shipping. Technologically, this is tough because the data is private to every client, so we need to make sure that it remains like that. But there is also a lot of public data out there, so we need to make sure that we have the best public data and we can combine it with each client's private data. So I think that technically is a hard problem to solve, and where I think we have the edge. So that's our software business. The vision obviously is now that we've established ourselves as a market intelligence tool in the space, is how can we also now provide more let's call it agentic workflows to better coordinate, let's say, between the three parties. Plus, how can we offer a more end-to-end solution for the ship managers, ship owners, right? So that's what Signal does in a nutshell. Happy to answer any more targeted questions if you guys want.
We're coming for them. Don't worry, man. Don't worry. I guess just segueing off that. I spend a lot of time talking to startups, and I've been doing this a little bit too long. And you go through different cycles, and there's been cycles where everyone's building an app and everyone's doing a DoorDash or whatever it is. Do you think where we're going in this world of AI, that it is these more established industries where the opportunities are? If everyone's using AI to build quickly, building the apps, etc., there's no, well, maybe we'll get to that in a minute. Is there a moat? But do you think that these bigger, more complicated, established industries is where the big opportunities are at the moment, or?
Yes, I think so. And I think so because, as you said, I think building now software is easier, which means that the differentiation will come from building a moat around the complexity of the problem you're trying to solve. And I think shipping and logistics in general, like if we think about a cargo, right? Let's talk about container shipping, because I think maybe people will be able to relate faster with container. There is a cargo that starts from China and needs to arrive in the US. That cargo might have to travel through 2 different shipping lines managed by 3 different freight forwarders, belong to a single shipper, go through 3 different customs, arrive at 4 different ports, etc. Right? So and be financed by a bank and insured by an insurer. Yep. So, and each of these players uses different systems. But in the end, maybe all of them are looking for kind of the same data, right? Which is like, where is my cargo? When it's going to arrive? When? So, and all of these stakeholders need to coordinate. So building the software is not as hard as mapping out the exact process that the cargo needs to follow, right? And make sure that you have all of the necessary connections along the path of the cargo. So I think that's why I think shipping is a very interesting and equivalent, industries out there that have this complexity of multiple stakeholders.
No, I love it. And I think it's funny, isn't it, as topical in the news and stuff like that, last couple of years, all of a sudden I've become much more aware of where my stuff comes from. And if I went back 3-4 years ago, I probably wouldn't have any awareness, but a canal gets blocked and all of a sudden I'm aware of that, and then it's very topical at the moment. And I guess in terms of that then, it's just it wasn't perhaps something we prepared for, so I'm just throwing them out there now, Nikolas. This is what normally what happens, but I can see a world where if you're a passionate technologist, you're an engineer, or you're an ideas person, and the idea of building an app that people use every day, you can quite quickly jump to it. But what would you say if someone's in this room going, well, actually, this sounds cool, like these big established industries, I can see an opportunity there, but it's just me. Like, how do people is it possible for people that are clever and passionate to explore these industries and find use cases and build up MVPs and stuff like that, or do they need to immediately be a small team and have someone with domain knowledge? Or
I think domain knowledge is going to be the differentiator, just because of how much easier it has become to build software. So there are many ways you can find domain knowledge, right? So obviously you can find a co-founder from the space that is passionate about this. You can there are incubators from the space, or generalist incubators that just now have figured that logistics is a space where it's very interesting, and then they pair up with like big industrial players like freight forwarders, etc., and they try to find entrepreneurs that are going to help them solve their issues. But bottom line is, I think that having the domain expertise is absolutely necessary to build a software that stands out. And I think that's also what VCs are looking for. They're looking at that expertise, and you see it also in now how the investment trend has changed in terms of when do VCs invest. And I think they come earlier in the cycle. So as soon as a team basically is to put together with a design client and a first, let's say, wedge, that's when they would come in and put a good amount of money in, and then wait until that has scaled to, let's say, 5-10 million ARR, versus the most traditional until a couple of years ago, where you would have like the seed round after a few, after the first revenue with like a bigger team, and then a Series A later on. So that has changed a lot.
And do you see that so the cadence of the investments has changed and makes sense? Do you see that first investment being bigger, or is
yes, for especially in the US, for a few very hyped, let's say, startups that can immediately show that wedge, right? So they have, it's important not only to show a vision of what you want to do as a startup. So you want, everybody can say that they want to build like an AI agents to improve freight forwarders or brokers, right? But what is that like first step that's clearly showing value? So we were looking a couple of months ago. It's interesting because it's a very random case, but I think it proves this like wedge point, which is we were looking at a company that was trying to solve the problem of pallet distribution. So every time a truck arrives, let's say at a supermarket, they drop off their stuff on a pallet. They don't take the pallet back. They leave the pallet there, and then they fill in a slip and say, +1, -1, I left you 5 pallets, I picked up 3, whatever. So that's like a process right now that it's like done by hand and lives on paper. But that costs, it's an industry that costs like hundreds of millions of dollars every year. And there's obviously a ton of inefficiency because pallets get lost, they get broken. There are claims against them. You lost my 10 pallets, where are I only have your 5 pallets, etc. So they've built a software where it starts by digitizing that entire process and then building AI agents on top that's automated, right? So creating the claims automatically, creating the notifications to the different parts automatically. So that's a very interesting use case that suddenly, you start by something that provides a lot of value to the clients, but also suddenly also builds a network of all the different stakeholders in the industry. So then you can move into different parts of the supply chain. So I think that's what VCs see and they get excited with.
It's super interesting, and it has flipped the script, I think, a little bit. And like my day job is recruitment, and in the last 3 years, the amount of AI companies that I've seen that are going to change recruitment, and I think a lot of technologists perhaps know recruitment on the edge and they've jumped straight into it, but people are perhaps not looking at what you're talking about in that real world, and how many problems are there out there that are exactly like that, and then massive, massive valuable industries, big opportunities. So in terms of that, is that, do you think that's the biggest change in terms of how you evaluate startups over the last couple of years? You've talked about that wedge which is the mixture of domain knowledge, interesting problem, like smart people. That's kind of what you look for, basically.
Yes, it's the domain expertise, because in this particular example, like, who would have thought, right? If you haven't experienced it from the inside of the supermarket, let's say, or the any business that carries pallets, you would have never thought that that's a real problem. So you need, I think, that domain expertise. The other thing, obviously, that we VCs are looking at is capital efficiency. I think now it's because it's easier to build software. You should be able to scale with less money. There is a little bit they're looking for a complexity mode, which means, maybe I can put it with an example out there. You can think about it as a workflow complexity. So it's not, VCs are not going to invest in a very simple workflow problem, right? Pick up the phone and answer and get their request. But they're going to look at a much more complex process that creates the value. And maybe one example, I guess, from our portfolio that does a little bit of this is a company in the US called Secro that they do electronic bill of lading. Bill of lading basically is the document of title for cargo. So until today, that's a handwritten document that is signed by the port agent that's responsible for the operations of the port, let's say, the charterer and the ship owner. And everything depends on that bill of lading in terms of if someone wants to buy that cargo while the vessel is, let's say, in the ocean, that bill of lading needs to change hands physically.
Oh, wow.
So if one company is in the US, the other one is in China, that creates complexity. At the same time, for that cargo to be financed, the bank needs to have access to that bill of lading. So that company has basically built an electronic bill of lading that allows the transfer between one entity to be automatic and the signing to be automatic, etc. But in order to get there, what is the complexity? The complexity is that you need approval from regulatory bodies in the UK, in Singapore, around the world, that this is legally binding. You need banks to approve it as a form of document, etc. So the complexity there is that you have to do all that work to prove to everyone that. So even though the software is not so complex to build, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with the network and proving that this is a valid, have the stamp of a valid, let's say, document of title.
I don't know why, as you were explaining it, I was thinking he's going to say it's a fax. Like they've invented the fax to send the document or something. I'm too old, man. Anyone else sent a fax? Just me? Show of hands?
I've sent many faxes.
I can tell. I could look at you all and predict who sent a fax, if I'm perfectly honest.
We would order stuff from the US and Greece by filling up a fax form, like an order form.
Send the fax, man. It's coming back. I love it. Not blockchain. It's a fax. The thing I love there, actually, so taking it back serious, is the complexity is a moat. I think when I think about a lot of people building in AI at the moment, I see what they're building, and I'm just like, that's going to get eaten. That's going to OpenAI are just going to copy that. When 2 years ago, everyone had a different transcription tool and 40 million quid for granola, whoever, and now it's just built in, and you click a button in ChatGPT. So that moat piece is all of the complexity for you. That's where you see a moat.
It's not only the complexity; it's also the compounding effect of data. Let's say, which over time improves your product. And again, another example there is we invested in a few years back, so before the AI boom, let's say, in a company that was building digital tools to make the job of a real estate agent much more efficient. They had the vision back then to record every single conversation that the agents, their physical real estate agents would have, the email exchanges, the WhatsApp, everything. So they build like a really good data layer of all of that. And suddenly, a year ago, with the AI enablement, let's say, they were able to take all that data and build fully autonomous real estate agents, because they knew exactly what are the different paths that a customer will follow through the, acquiring, let's say, a house or selling a house. So that is a data moat that over time compounds, because the more data you have, the better your models are going to be, the better your process are going to be, etc. So this is also something that differentiates.
Amazing, amazing. And then it is a little bit AI specific, but obviously at the moment there's very large models out there that people plug into. Where do you see it going with these models? Do you see industries and companies training their own specific private models to protect all this stuff? Like, should people just be using these super large models, or I've gone off topic again. There's a theme.
They should be.
There's a theme,
I don't have an answer, right? So I think it's like, being in the late 90s, early 2000s, that there was like software development happening, but of course every big company out there wanted to build their own, let's say, ERP system. So I think a lot of that is going to happen now. I'm not sure where the ball is going to land. But I still see that definitely there are now big companies trying to innovate themselves, but you also see a lot of others that are trying to, through collaborations with incubators, trying to find the right startups that they will invest in, that they will solve their problem, because they know that they cannot do themselves. History has told us that probably the big companies are slow in moving and slow in innovating, so they will try, but probably fail. Which means that there's still going to be room for innovation from...
Lots of opportunity out there. Yeah, I love that, definitely. The other thing I'd love to just go back to that you touched on there was the point about capital efficiency. And I think, again, historically, raise your funding, spend it as fast as possible. That's probably not what they tell you to do, but that's like just, next round. And what you're explaining now is it's a slightly bigger investment at the beginning, but you want to see bang for the buck, really lean, do as much as possible with as tight as possible, sort of thing. So when you talk about capital efficiency, if someone is raising or going to raise or thinking about bootstrapping even, because I guess it crosses over, what do you think about in terms of capital efficiency?
In terms of numbers, you mean?
Yeah,
or
just an approach, I guess.
An approach. Okay. Look, I think what before it would take probably 5 to 10 people to build, we see now some companies building with 2 people. We're looking at a company today with Johnny that there was like a 23-year-old that started. They're doing a pre-seed round. It's $4 million. It's in the logistics space, and it's basically him and that has coded the first agent by himself, and because he's so knowledgeable of the space, he already has the first couple of clients just on his own, and he's raising $4 million. Right? You can imagine one person how far the $4 million can take him, right? So I think that the scale has changed completely. I was reading somewhere the time it took Dropbox to get to the first 100 million a few years back, and what has taken Cursor now, and the difference is like 1/5 of the time. So I think scale and with much less money, obviously.
Makes sense. In terms of that, then, you obviously speak to a lot of people that are interested in raising, and I think we talked about it beforehand. Actually, you talk to 100 founders, maybe like 2 of the conversations really land or whatever. Do you think there is common misunderstandings from founders when it comes to fundraising? Do you see common patterns there? Is there anything that you could speak to on that?
Common patterns. There are definitely, common misunderstandings. We often see, I think the problem that we had when we started our own business, which is a very nice problem with a very nice solution, but without a real problem, right? So many times we see companies that what they're trying to solve is not big enough. So I think that's definitely one thing. And then the other is that companies that now they try to surf, let's say, the AI wave, and it's too much, it's too simplistic in a way. It's just putting an AI agent that will search through 5 documents and produce 5 insights from those documents, and that's not good enough at this point in time.
Amazing.
And the latter we see quite a lot.
Yeah, I imagine. I imagine. In terms of that, then, you've talked about domain experience, which I guess is founder background and experience. But are there other qualities that you look for in a founder? Again, are there patterns? Have they been abandoned as children and stuff like that? I don't know. Is there
Yes, that's the most important one. Is being abandoned.
Is it? Yeah. On the streets.
We obviously, agility is one, and agility. I mean it because I think now it has become more important than ever. There is the pace at which AI models come out and improvements come out is so high that you need to be able to adapt very quickly. So I think if we see a founder that has played around with multiple AI tools or in their solution has used many different models, I think that's already a good sign. So agility is one. The domain expertise is the other, but that could be your so that I'm talking now about the founding team, let's say, not just the founder. Someone that has done this before obviously is important, but it's not by itself a necessity. I think these are
just in terms of that point there about having done it before, does it matter if they've been successful before? Is it just the experience of?
No, I think just the experience also. As long as as long as they can articulate why it didn't work before, so they had lessons learned, let's say.
Makes sense. I think one of my takeaways, I think at the moment, is that it's perhaps become easier to build a startup, but perhaps harder to build a fundable startup.
And we're trying. We are struggling to find fundable startups right now.
That's interesting.
And the reason is because until now, you could have an edge with your software that it took you a year or more to build, or with your, let's say, parsing technology. But that's not enough. So that's why you need to go deeper in a particular problem to solve it better. And we had invested in a company a few years ago that was in the airline space. You have like this central organization, Amadeus, basically, that collects all of the prices and seat availability across all airlines and provides that then to travel agents. So then we invested. That didn't exist in the container shipping world. So if you're a freight forwarder and you need to search for a price, you need to go through multiple PDF documents, you need to call your shipping line, you need to hook up on the API of its individual shipping line, etc. So this company started by parsing all these documents of each of their clients, because there are private contracts that each freight forward might have with the shipping line, and also connecting directly with each of the shipping lines to get their prices. So try to become, let's say, the Amadeus of container shipping. But now this has become a little bit obsolete as a mode. right?
Yeah.
Because anyone can do that much faster than
Yeah.
they've been able to do it. So if you're not able to pivot fast enough and start offering, you know, more things on top of that, like, you know, automatic, let's say, rebooking, you know, things like that, then you can become obsolete very, very fast.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. I think this. I mentioned it at the start. Actually, we had a bit of a prep call for this session, and the takeaway I had from the prep call was talking about picking a problem. And I think based on what you're explaining there about how to find investable startups, it has changed. People can build quicker, which then makes the underlying problem even more important. I guess it's always been important, but even more important. So in terms of that then, the question I've written down here is how do you assess whether a problem is worth solving? And you spoke about your own experience at the very beginning. You found an exciting problem and it was interesting to solve, but it didn't quite tick the final box of being a commercial opportunity and stuff like that. So have you got any advice about, you know, how do you assess whether a problem is worth solving?
Well, the way we assess it, at least, is talking to the clients of the startups. So the users basically have to prove to us that this like changes the way they do their work. It changes how fast they can do their work, and basically from that we can derive how much value that is bringing. So I think the same exercise is what a founder should do, you know, before coming to an investor and before start building a product. So you know, that client access, I think, is very important early on to achieve that.
In terms of what you're describing there, you're picking the problem to solve, but then you're also putting your investor perspective on and seeing the commercial opportunity. So is that like size of, is it the size of the market? Obviously the bigger the market, the better. I've spoke to people in the past that have kind of said, well, if this market's so big, if we get 2% of it, it's billions. But I've spoke to other investors in the past that have said almost the opposite. They prefer a smaller market, but you have a chance to get like a monopoly type situation. So like, how do you look at that commercial opportunity? Is it purely the size of the market?
Not necessarily. I think it's the ratio of, you know, how fast you can grow over the size of the market, right? So if the market is small but you can grow faster and there's like less competition, let's say, in it, it's something that we'll definitely look into it, especially if that also requires, let's say, less capital intensity to get there, because there is less competition, because you can, you know, build a product faster. And in general, you know, shipping and, you know, let's say the core of shipping, everything that relates around the vessel, let's say, is in general a small market. So we don't expect their companies to become billion-dollar companies, but we expect them to become, you know, let's say a $50 million business that can be sold at a good price.
Amazing. In terms of that piece around validating an opportunity, you know, if there's a potential founder in the room, is there any tips? Obviously, you've been doing this for a long time. There's a whole team at Signal. You have access to wider data, all that type of stuff. But if you're a founder thinking, this could be something here, is there anything they can do to get that feedback loop? Because again, if going back to that example of building apps,
they can talk to us.
This is it. Come, I love it. Come and tell Signal all about it.
We can be the first filter, and then I think we have a good enough network now that we'll be able to connect with the right people if we're the ones that we're not knowledgeable enough. But again, it comes back. That has to be the first thing you do, right? Especially if you're not a domain expert. So I think it's just important to talk to people, right? Network and figure out find your co-founder, find your business opportunity, and talk to the right clients.
I think if you try to find a co-founder in shipping, they have to be Greek, because they seem to be the specialists in this space.
Quite a few of them there.
This is their thing. I think it's super interesting. So again, going back to the real world as well, can't remember the book, but I read a book about investing once, and it was talking about if you see something happening in the real world, you know, and use it as an investment signal. You don't have to overcomplicate it sometimes. You know, if there's a queue out the door at Domino's, you know, Domino's is potentially doing well and stuff like that. So I guess in the real world, some of the feedback that you perhaps see is that there's a material change in how people are working, or the pallet example that you're talking about, the people that are in that space are quicker and more efficient. That you need that feedback loop.
Yeah, so the question is, if we observe this in the real world, if we already observe the change in the real world, not at scale yet, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we. I mean, there are obviously specific verticals where, you know, AI has made things a lot easier in legal, let's say, in healthcare.
Yeah.
But it has not happened at scale yet. But I think it's coming. Yeah.
Amazing. I think in terms of that, I would definitely just love to spend a few minutes talking about building in the real world. I think I've spent too many years working in, I'm going to say e-commerce, but that's the real world as well, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah, it's definitely the one that you can observe
you can see
more directly.
But I think in terms of that, obviously you have very specific experience in logistics and supply chain. Where do you see the biggest opportunities in these spaces? Is it what you've talked about there, the complexity of the different data silos and stuff like that, or is it more physical?
I think it's physical as well, but I think there's a lot of opportunity in improving the front office and back office work, and we see that already happening. But as I said, it's not at scale, right? So we see companies trying to build, let's say, the digital interface between customers and clients, and the AI agents of how the data is captured from a phone call and then put into the system of a freight forwarder and follow up, etc. So I think that will change also the job description for a lot of these companies. Like what people used to do, it's not even 10% of what they used to do is 90% of what they used to do is going to be what they'll be doing in the future. But there's a lot of and there are a lot of verticals in there where this can happen. Like as I said, it's the front office, the back office, it's how you record the data, it's how you respond to your clients, how do you make operational decisions like rerouting a container when it gets obstructed in the middle of the voyage, etc. So, and in general, I think shipping, even though there is, I think more or less 10% of the global GDP is around freight and logistics, we've seen that only 1% goes into tech investment in logistics and tech space. So I think that gap will definitely close in the coming years. And I think there hasn't been a lot of investment because of the complexity of the multiple stakeholders, how global the industry is, how many people it touches, etc. So now I think that will change now with
amazing.
these.
Yeah, amazing. And I think for me that is the takeaway here. Obviously we're in London. There's a big fintech ecosystem, but actually the complexity of the real world and the opportunity to put AI into it is huge at the moment. And I think for me, I'm thinking, who can I talk to other than the team at Signal, of course, about this. In terms of that, I've allocated sort of 15 minutes or so just to talk a bit about practical advice and stuff like that. As mentioned at the start, it's definitely interactive as well. So if you've got any burning questions, there'll be a bit of time for some questions towards the end. But if you have got a question, feel free to stick your hand up, and we'll come to you. I guess in terms of that, you've worked in consulting, you've been in academia, you've started your own business, you've supported loads of startups now. What advice would you give to people in the room that are just starting today? Is there something that jumps to mind in terms of if you're founding today, what would be your advice be?
I think I'll start with the basic one that everyone says, which is like find something that it drives you and you have a passion about.
Yeah.
Find the right team members, the people that you want to work with.
Yeah.
And try to gain that domain expertise.
Yeah.
So before start building, try to really understand deep the product.
Yep.
And then start building.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And in terms of that founding team, you've talked about examples where solo founders can do so much now.
Yeah.
You've obviously talked about technical founder with a co-founder that's very specific in a domain and stuff like that. What do you see that works well, or do you have an opinion on how to structure a founding team?
Yes, I don't have an opinion. I can tell you what I've observed that works well, and typically is someone that comes from the industry, has the connections, knows the problem very well, with someone that is either very entrepreneurial or has the technical knowledge.
Yeah.
So I think that combination works.
Yeah. And
really well.
Does sales play a part, do you think, in the founding
Not at this
teams?
early stage.
No. Okay. And you can bring that person in.
Yeah, we can bring that person in, and typically we see that the first 1, 2, 3 million of let's say revenue are typically founder driven.
Yeah.
And if you've built a product that you didn't build it because you just you look at the next funding round and you always target what do I need to do in order to get more money, etc. But you target more what do I need to do in order to solve and create value for the clients. I think then everything else will fall in place.
Yeah, amazing.
The funding will come, the sales will come, etc.
Yeah, amazing.
I'm simplifying it, but that's what we've seen.
Yeah. It's easy. In terms of that, talking about the funding, I know we've talked a bit about it earlier, slightly bigger first round, you want capital efficiency and stuff like that. What do you like to see from the founding team before they raise that first round? Is it, how far along should they be? Is it they come with an idea, or should they have a product built and have some early customers, or?
That it depends on, I guess, on the scope and thesis of every fund. In our case, we typically want to see a product, and we want to see it working within clients, so that we can actually get feedback from the clients and understand how much value it creates for them.
Yeah.
So basically understand the product market fit.
Yeah.
Now that the trend is changing, also for us, we yet to define our investment strategy in this new world. But what we see a lot is that, as I said before, VCs are looking for that, not the product market fit, but the founder market fit. So that's why they also invest, let's say, in earlier stages.
Yeah. Okay. And that founder market fit that you're talking about there, again, perhaps a silly question on my part, but that is, you're happy to write a check on the basis
almost
of a person?
On the basis, yes, of the person, and having identified what the problem is, and maybe even having built a prototype or a working prototype in a client, let's say.
Yeah, makes sense. With regard to that, then, when you're talking about that founder fit.
And the reason for that is that the space has become so competitive, both for the startups and for the VCs. So VCs have identified now what are the new trends that increase my probability of an investment being a success. So I need to catch it earlier, because otherwise I might catch it too late. Everybody will be on top, and it will be at a much higher valuation also. Because also the time to market, let's say, has been reduced. How you scale from 1 to 10 million has changed, etc.
It's stressful stuff, isn't it? Hey,
it's a changing world.
It's a changing world. It's a changing world.
Very stressful.
I guess just to kind of draw things towards close in terms of the scripted part, and as I say, we will pull out a few questions. I do like to, as you say, it's a changing world, but I do try and tease out a few predictions, if that's okay.
Predictions?
We won't hold you to them. Don't worry. In terms
it's
of
recorded,
that,
and then
it's recorded.
You play it back to me in a year from now.
You're coming back. we get everyone to come back. But I guess in terms of that, are there things that you think will become easier for founders over the next couple of years? No.
No. No. Listen. Clearly, developing software is easier, and probably a lot of founders will start doing it themselves without having to depend on a big engineering teams, etc. So that's already a huge plus. So that I would say that's the.
And 2 years from now, we'll all have to undo all the vibe coding and do some refactoring of the code. Okay, I guess flipping it the other way then, you've talked about the opportunity to move quick, it's easier to write code and stuff like that. What do you think will become more difficult for founders?
The same thing, right? It's going to be a lot more competitive. So it's going to become harder to have that edge. But I think once you have that edge, which can come from the complexity of the software you're building, the workflow you're trying to solve, the data angle that we said before, then that's a big differentiation that will stand out.
It makes sense, man. It makes sense. In terms of we've talked a lot about opportunity in the real world. Do you think there are startups that will struggle over the coming couple of years? Everything else?
Yes. But I think that has been the case always. I mean, if you just see the success metrics, the ones that actually return their investment to VCs are less than 30%, and the ones that actually create the multiples are 10%. And the rest are
second
do
time
not
founders.
succeed. Second time founders, third time founders. Exactly.
We go again.
Potentially this will change, and you'll have even fewer that actually succeed, but at much bigger valuations. But I think that the interesting thing is that also now with AI, it's not just about building software companies, but it has also, I think what's going to be very interesting is how do you build also service businesses, so the real estate agents, the accounting firms, the legal, that are from their birth a lot more built with a lot more agentic flows and autonomy. So doing everything with a much better customer service, much better operations, much more efficient, and would operate at the margins that software businesses are used to operate. So that creates a whole new world.
That is definitely interesting, because like in terms of my business, I have no interest to raise funds. I run a small but mighty recruitment business, but I'm looking at opportunities, thinking, well, I can keep a team of 6 people, but we can effectively work as a team of 30 people, and there's big profits to be had, and I'm happy. So do you think we'll see more founders in coming years? Do you think it's obviously going to change the world of work? Do you think there'll be more startups out there?
I think in the short term, yes. In the medium term, I'm not sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I'm not sure, because I think a lot will struggle to find their niche, and there's going to be a lot more competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like to.
Without wanting to discourage, but
Got to go in with your eyes open, haven't you?
Yeah.
Haven't you? We all like a challenge. In terms of that, from my final question, I do always like to ask leave people with one takeaway. There's been a lot of takeaways so far, but if you were going to give one tip to the room, someone out there either early stages of building or they're interested in building, what would your one tip to leave people with be?
The one tip, I think that this is what AI has created a tremendous enablement to the hands of entrepreneurs. So the people should just try to, ride the wave.
Yeah.
And at the very least, there's going to be a very interesting experience they're going to live through that they'll have a ton of things to learn and a lot of things to carry for the rest of their lives. So give it a try, because I think it's
I love it.
The best time ever to do so.
We're ending with a message of positivity, because
it
can be scary, lots of change, but your message is definitely there's opportunities out there.
But also, I mean, it's we said that it's faster to scale, but it's also faster to fail now. So you will know very soon if it's going to work out or not. Yeah. So you can try more times. Yeah. For in the same time frame as you used to.
Just keep going.
A few years ago.
Keep going. Amazing stuff. Could I please have a round of applause for Nikolas?
Thank you.
So the deal is we've allowed a bit of time for some questions. We have the bar next door as well, so we go do a bit of networking. But I will jump to you straight away here, sir, with your hand up. What's your question?
You nicely mentioned the aviation industry.
Yeah.
And it's imperative in that industry is quality assurance.
Yes.
Compared in the software industry, it's very late afterthought.
It's very?
A very late afterthought.
Yeah.
Well, we notice as an example now with AI, we reached, when it comes to front end, less than 1% of all those web pages actually validate to W3C standards. So making it practical. There's lots of things going wrong.
Yeah.
So how would you value, when you look at startups, the aspect of quality assurance?
So we definitely want to understand what kind of testing procedures they have in place. But we also realize that at the very early stage, we don't expect companies to meet certain certification requirements, ISO requirements, etc. But we, as they scale, we expect them to introduce them into their, procedures. And often, as a board, we are responsible to make sure that they also are guided towards that direction. But clearly, at the very early stage, not many are thinking about this.
But the risk also creeps in from the beginning.
True.
As you scale, and you want to structure from the outstart, otherwise you scale chaos.
Yeah, it's true, and that's why I think it's you end up spending more money later on to fix what you didn't think about in the beginning. But in a way, you cannot have everything, right? There's so much time and so much. So I think there's so much focused on delivering, let's say a good product for the client, that they don't think about potentially quality assurance. And even though I agree with you that good founder maybe should. Yeah.
You have to balance moving quickly and
yes.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah. And also the truth is, because you compare it with the aviation industry, aviation industry obviously also deals with lives, so that's why it has been an industry that is so much more advanced than any other, let's say, transportation related industry. So
amazing. Yeah, please.
So first of all, thank you. It's fun. And what I was wondering is, in terms of founders using AI and building out AI companies, are you seeing people more look at finding efficiencies within industries, or saying, I'm going to create an entirely new market? I'm thinking of when other technologies have come in, so like lawnmower, and then a sports industry can develop off it. How big is the ambitions people are having, you're seeing with AI as a technology? Because a lot of what I'm seeing is efficiency, cost cutting, but I'm is that whole value creation also coming through what people are talking to you about?
Yes, we see a lot more of the first one, so improving your margins, let's say, and a lot less on the changing the net behavior. Like, so how do you act? How do people work? But the ones that, unfortunately, we don't have access, to the US funded, let's say, startups that are changing how we work, like especially in the ones like, let's say, Cursor or the equivalents. But they're few and they scale a lot faster. So the lucky VCs that get to have access to those, of course, they're going to have much bigger returns, right? Because they play in a completely different size of market, and they're creating their own market. So in logistics and shipping more specifically, I think it's a lot more about improving operations, improving efficiency, cutting down costs, improving margins, improving customer experience. Yeah.
Fantastic. I've got two right in the front row. I'll come to you first. Come on.
But we've also seen a few decks lately that are, I want to build, let's say, a new shipping company that it's all built around agents, right? So that's a new business model, let's say. Yeah.
That was a great question, man, as well. I really like that one.
But they're much fewer.
I advise tech entrepreneurs around bringing innovation to market, and I would like to ask you about valuations at the seed stage. So let's say you have a investable proposition. What can the team behind it demonstrate to get the best possible valuation from you?
Good question again.
Yeah.
You should be up here, man. It's good.
They need to demonstrate product market fit. They need to demonstrate that the problem they're solving is you can quantify it, and you need to demonstrate that is part of a much bigger play in a much bigger market, in a very big market. So that's how you maximize your seed stage valuation, including how fast did you actually get there. Very different thing raising a seed stage as a 5-year-old company versus a 1-year-old company. Yeah.
Amazing.
And then we've seen some of these 1-year-old companies getting valuations of 100 million at seed stage, right? So
yeah, it's crazy times. Yeah. What was your question?
So we've spoken a lot about software and building software, successful software companies. So the question is, each and every single time Claude brings out a new model, more software companies keep collapsing, as in stock value, not actually the actual value they provide. So does that mean that you're looking at software companies differently? Because I suppose as a founder, for example, if I was to go and pitch, I don't know, $500 million business, this is a software company that fixes your problem. What's just to stop them from vibe coding it themselves because they've got an entire engineer department.
Yeah.
So are you looking at software companies differently as an investor? Are you thinking, is this just going to be copied in a month?
yes, we are, and I think the ones that we figured out that they're going to be copied in a month or become obsolete because of a new release by Claude, we will not invest in. So that's why I think comes back to what I said before about the complexity of the workflow that they're trying to solve and their industry access, and whether there is this data compounding effect that they can build. So in the example, let's say, of Happy Robot, right, where they're trying to build AI agents that talk to clients of freight forwarders. So if every conversation that the AI agent is having is being recorded and that is being used to improve your processes, improve the way the agents work and understand all the edge cases, I think that's where the value is, and not so much on the software itself now. Yeah.
Good data. There's a question here. Yeah, please.
You gave a good example earlier of the solopreneur that came to you to raise $4 million. I was running firstly, have you seen a big spike recently of the number of like individual stylish founders that are asking for capital? And then the flip side of that is, if that is the case, how do you see VCs adapting to that? Because one guy needs a lot less money than the previous team of 50 to do exactly the same work. So you're going to struggle to, as that number goes up, you're going to struggle to find enough places to put the capital, or do you see it spreading across a number of like competing or equally good startups?
I think it's going to be, first of all, we don't see that many, right? We see a few more than before, but it's not, let's say, a majority or anything like that. Yeah, we don't see, yes, a hockey stick of single founders. I definitely see a lot of value still in like building something together as a team. So being able to problem solve, change ideas, support each other. So I think we still like, I don't expect that to change significantly. But VCs, as I said, we are starting to invest much earlier because they see this like founder fit. And their expectations though after that change, right? So how fast with the same amount of money they will want to see the company growing. And how fast they can get, let's say, to the next round of 10 or 20 million ARR. So that definitely changes. So you see big VCs like General Catalyst, Index, etc., investing much earlier in the process.
So more smaller bets.
More, not necessarily smaller bets, but same amount of bets, but in smaller teams.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Come on, sir.
Hi. In case of an investment, how long do you expect the founders to stay committed to the cause?
Forever. yeah.
I mean, what's the reasonable expectation? I know it's a very like ambiguous question.
Yeah.
What's the reasonable expectation?
Considering
your experience.
Yeah, until exit, which is typically on a normal VC fund between 6 to 10 years, let's say, time frame. Yeah.
Okay. What if the company is not successful as you wished it to be? Let's say. Do you expect to continue?
This happens occasionally, eh?
It happens more often than we want, and more often than
it's hard.
it shouldn't. Yeah. So your question is what we do then, like when?
Let's say if they're not as successful as you thought they would be, do you expect them like to keep fighting, keep trying for like 6 years to a decade?
No, I think we will have realized hopefully long before that if this is going to be a successful endeavor, but we do expect for people to keep trying and pivoting and trying to find the right fit in the market. But obviously if after 6 years they have not succeeded, we don't hold guns on the head of people saying you have to stay here.
It's good to know.
Yeah. No, it's and we're trying to support. It's not an antagonistic relationship between the investor and the founder. Actually, it should be more of a partner relationship. So, because we're in the same, we're trying to achieve the same thing, which is, have returns out of this.
Amazing.
That's good. Thank you.
Amazing. I think we will draw things to a bit of a close there. Can I have another round of applause for Nikolas? Come on, man. Come on.
Very nice. Thank you, Dave.